some people, go car show, race your motor, boom, 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 rumble, rumble. Everybody gets all impressed. I'm not always that impressed by a loud car. Sometimes I'm a lot more impressed by a quiet car. It's kind of like, if you're strong, you don't have to go around telling people you're strong. And if you've got a car that's powerful, you don't need to be announcing that this car's powerful by having super loud pipes. It's like a bully coming up on a ball field and saying, hey, I'm a tough guy, I'm going to let you all have it. Well, that's fine. But if you're really a tough guy, you don't go up on the ball field and start announcing that you are. If you're really a tough guy, you keep your mouth shut and have some manners about you, and you don't pull out your toughness unless you need to. And sometimes you need to. What's going on over in Ukraine right now is a good example of that. There's some people over there that suddenly have had to prove how tough they are when a great big bully like Russia, Russia did that tough guy thing. They showed up with 190,000 soldiers and rows and rows of army tanks, and they're in the process of getting beat back by a bunch of real tough guys who weren't making a lot of noise about it, but they were tough enough to send them home packing. Of course, the problem with them is they can't go home because they shoot them if they come back, or they imprison them or something. That's what I understand. I think Russia might be getting ready to have a change of way of being. After the Iron Curtain fell, there was an opportunity for Russia to become a different country. And, you can't just overnight go from being a communist country to a democratic country. It takes a while. We had a lot of pretty smart thinkers in the makeup of our country who helped write things like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And a lot of our government, it was laid out to be self-canceling, meaning that in our government, no one ever wins all the time. There is no, like in Russia, there's this big bully, and he says, well, I'm the big bully, so everybody's going to do it my way, and you don't have any choice. You just have to obey me. But in a constitutional government, people have elections and they make decisions, and sometimes people aren't happy. They get a president or a senator or a politician that they don't like, but you know what? You just wait time, and there'll be another election. You can vote him out of office, or if he doesn't do what he says he'll do, you just have to deal with the time that you've got somebody that you don't like, and if they don't prove to be someone that the majority of people likes, after a certain time, they vote him out of office and they get somebody else. That way, it's not like some of these third world countries. They have to have a civil war in order to have a regime change, in order to throw out the big bully strongman. So a lot of people have to die, and we have a country that's not set up that way. Well, here Russia was, and they lost all of their the kind of way of doing business kind of went down the drain when the wall fell, and the communist government, the Politburo, and all that stuff ceased to be. And then there was a lot of problems that brought about because there wasn't really anybody in charge enough to manage a lot of the military, nuclear related equipment, and so they needed some stability. So that's how old Putin got back in there. So where was I going with that? Dang if I remember. I suppose it doesn't matter. It's probably had something to do with oh yeah, I'd like to see come out of this that Russia kind of gets a second restart, and the Russian people, I believe, are good people, and I'd like to see them. Well, right now they have a politician in jail over there that Putin has tried to poison him, and then he stuck him in prison. But he wanted to be the president of the country, and he had some ideas about maybe making some changes that would make it a lot more of a government of the people, I guess. I'm guessing that's probably why he was in jail, because Putin didn't want anybody to come along and fix things, because he had things fixed good enough for himself. He was continuing to, be the big man in charge. And you see where that's led everybody. So I don't know, maybe the end result of all this will be that they'll get a new way of doing business over there, and they'll come out better off than they are now, or better off than they were when they went into this. Okay, so this, if I just run it straight across and then tape and cut it, that can be better, maybe. So I feel like sometimes I'm not much of a know-it-all because I don't know very much, but we learned some things when I was young that people don't seem to be learning anymore. Maybe they just don't teach it in school. I had a history teacher in high school that made sure that I understood civics. Although the word civics was never used, he taught me a lot of things about civility and being civil. And at the time, I just thought he was a boring old man. But as I've looked around at our world and our country and some of the people that have come along after me who maybe just didn't get taught that stuff, I begin to wonder how we ever got away from that and why. And I've begun to see the results of it. You know, we got people killing each other pretty regularly in this country, and a lot of times it's people shooting politicians because they can't deal with, well, I don't know what it is they can't deal with, but they just decide the way to fix things is just to go out and kill people. And that's not a very civil way to behave, and it doesn't create a very good effect, because after a while nobody wants to be a politician if they're all going to become targets. And we have made and are making targets out of our politicians. And if you kill off all the politicians, I mean, you might not like them very much, but who's going to run the country? You get to be like Russia. If nobody's going to run the country and some guy comes along that can be very powerful, he'll just say, well, nobody else wants to run the country, so I'll do it, and none of y'all have to worry about anything. I'll take care of everything. And then he funnels money to all his rich buddies. Well, he makes his buddies rich, and they do things for him. They get him chicks and line him up with hot dates, and all his friends gets to do all the things that nobody else gets to do because they're all friends with the rich, powerful person. And before you know it, you have the rich, powerful person saying, well, let's go invade another country. You know, we're doing pretty good here. We're pretty happy running things. So if we're this happy running our own country, how happy could we be if we was also over there running that other country? So they go and, make a lot of army tanks, and they get a lot of soldiers, and they take them over and they park them on the border of a small country, and they say, let's just go attack these guys and take their country. And then we'll have everything we got, and we can have everything they got too. That's not the best way for our world to work. And as a planet, it's a good idea if us people who live on this planet make a plan where we can all get along and where we can all work together for the benefit of us all and for the benefit of our children who are going to come along behind us. And if we burned out the planet, and y'all probably, I don't know if y'all know much about history or not, but when I was a kid, there was rivers that were on fire that was that they were polluted so bad that the water would burn. They'd be on fire. That was happening. The air was so dirty. I remember going out when I was a truck driver. I went out to Hollywood. I thought it'd be nice to go to Hollywood. I got that big Hollywood sign, and I was looking forward to see that. Well, I got out there one day and I couldn't see it. I never did see it. I never did. I asked around. I said, "Where's this big Hollywood sign at?" "Oh, it's over on the hill. I can't see it." And they said, "Well, that's because of pollution. We got smog. We got smog out here in Hollywood, and you can't see the Hollywood sign because it's covered up with smog. It's covered up with pollution." If we live in a world like that, where it's so polluted that you can't see the beautiful things, And people are getting sick like they're doing, like they have done and are doing, can often do over in China. People start getting sick because the air is so polluted. Or India's a good example. It's a mess. You know, unless enough people agree to have people run things and not try to kill off all the people that want to run things, but support them. And that's another concept that seems to be missing in today's world. Back when I was a kid, we were told to support our leaders, pray for our leaders, ask the good Lord to guide our leaders. If we weren't happy with our leaders, obviously we had a method for taking them out. We'd vote, you know. We wouldn't, after the vote, all fight with each other and say, well, you cheated. I mean, that makes me mad. Just because, you know, when I was a kid, we used to vote on all sorts of things. Out on the ball field, you'd vote on which players and teams are going to be on. Just imagine what a mess that would have been if we'd have all got out there and we'd all picked our teams, and then somebody said, you cheated. I'm supposed to be on that team. You put me on this team. And that just, it makes me mad. It makes me feel like it's just a bunch of crybabies trying to take over the world. And those of us who are human enough to tell them to cut it out, I'll tell them to cut it out. Doesn't it seem that way to y'all? Now keep in mind, I'm not going to live a long time. And so you can ignore what I'm saying if you want to, but that means that you and your children are the ones that may wind up dying at some point in the future because people hadn't learned to live together and hadn't learned to get along and hadn't learned to elect good leaders and let them be in charge and support them and help them instead of shooting people down in the streets. You know, we had politicians that got shot. I can't remember who. It was a lady that got shot. She was a politician. Somebody shot her down, you know. We can't go around doing that. We got to do better than that. And if you can't see that, then, I don't know, maybe you need to pray about it. Or just look at any of these third world countries that they can't get it together enough to have a decent country where people can live with. There's all kind of places you can look at around the world where things are a huge freaking mess. A lot of them got that way because somebody came along and wanted to overthrow somebody else, and they destroyed all the things that make life work. And the things that make life work are things like, you know, being able to grow a garden and eat your own food, being able to have a neighbor that grows a garden, and not only can you eat some of his food, but he can get some of your stuff. You might be a pretty good welder, like, you know, I weld and stuff. You might be a pretty good welder, so you can weld up his tractor and he can grow some food. You can eat his food and he can have his tractor work because you're welding it up, and you guys can cooperate and you know, instead of everybody trying to kill each other because they don't agree or another. That right there wasn't on there. That everybody trying to kill everybody about not agreeing on one thing or another. People agree to support each other, pray for each other. They may not always agree, but that don't mean you have to kill everybody in the process. I don't usually talk about, I suppose this is getting dangerously close to politics. I don't usually talk about politics, but the reality is I ain't going to live that much longer. I mean, I shouldn't say it that way because it makes it sound like I think I'm going to die tomorrow. Well, along those lines, my neighbor over there found out she got breast cancer. Husband's got some kind of dementia. I know I can list off on many fingers many people who aren't alive anymore. People don't live forever. And yeah, I could be dead this time next year. My wife could, or, you know, any of us could. I guess if you got something that you think is important to say, maybe you do need to say it. So I'm saying it now. Y'all be civil. Y'all be nice to each other. You know, there's a lot of biblical principles that just teach you to have respect for yourself and other people. Just teaches you to be nice. You know, read that some of the prophetic books in the Bible are really fun to read. They're really good. And there's some things in the Bible that are hard to read, but a lot of it's got some good stuff in there. Okay. So I'm gonna let that dry before I peel the tape off of it. All right, I think I'll quit talking now, because sometimes I talk for a little bit and then I lose track of what I was saying, and then I just become nonsensical. It's not too unusual for me. I can be a little nonsensical sometimes. And I don't know if anybody's following any of what I said or not, and I don't know. I can't make none of y'all think the way I want you to think, and that's one good reason for me not to really want y'all to think any way in particular, but I would like to see you thinking enough so that you don't destroy the planet or kill each other off. You know, there's any number of wars about the end times, about where we all kill each other off on this planet. It'd be nice if we didn't make them into reality. Don't you think?